All right guys, welcome back to Squatch Cooks. We've got kind of a special one today. We're gonna be doing my smoked pork belly burnt ends. This is gonna be more like an Asian style. We've got some friends, two different couples, one that had surgery, brain surgery, and the other one had, I think it was rotator cuff surgery. Both of them are at home, so we're gonna make some meals for them and we're gonna deliver them to them tomorrow. But we're gonna start our prep today. So we've got this, how many pounds? We've got 8.71 pounds of pork belly, paid 35 bucks for it. We're gonna start by trimming off the skin. I wanna leave a lot of the fat, but not that skin, so it can render down into the nice burnt ends. We're gonna do kind of an Asian style on this, so a little bit sweeter with some rice, some cream cheese, wontons. Yeah, so we'll start there. We'll get this trimmed, put it back on this tray in the fridge, let it sit overnight before we start smoking it tomorrow. All right guys, so here we are. We're gonna get this cut open, take some paper towels to it and dry it off. Doesn't need to be perfectly dried because in the fridge it's gonna dry itself out overnight. That's the purpose of taking the skin off and letting it sit in there. But just wanted to kind of show you the process of how I take the skin off. I mean, it's really pretty simple. You just start at one end with a knife and just be really careful going all the way across. So let me grab my knife and we'll start that process. So I've got here my mustad knife. This is actually meant for fishing, but I like using these kind of knives because of the grip, the handle grip here and everything, and how sharp they are. It's extremely impressive. So I like to use these knives. I'm sure you've seen them in other videos, but not sponsored by them or anything, but that's the knife that I'm gonna be using on this. So let's go ahead and poke this open and get it dried off. All right guys, so we've got the package taken off. We've got this dried off, just the main moisture. It's gonna release a lot of moisture again as it sits in the fridge and dries out and everything. But with this portion of the cook, I just wanted to show you. So we've got the skin here. I like to start at an edge. You'll feel on the edge, it's kind of a harder piece of meat, and you can see the different layers. You've got the meat layer, and then this is just a fat cap, so below this is another meat layer, but we're gonna separate right here in the middle. This is all, from about halfway through the fat, this is all skin. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna create a slit here, and then just slowly keep following that all the way across the pork. All right guys, so we're gonna call that good. So obviously didn't do like the greatest job on this. If we were doing something different, making like chicharrones or something out of this this pork belly, we would trim this down a lot better, a lot more even, but we're making the burn ends, so it really doesn't matter. They're gonna render down, they're gonna shrink up. So we're leaving a decently good layer here, got most of the harder fat. You can see how much harder this fat is compared to this softer, more softer skin. But we've got that side there, that's gonna be the fattiest side, and then I'm gonna leave all the extra trimmings and fat on this side because there isn't much. I want this to render and get into the meat as much as possible. So for now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this, put it back on the tray and put it in the fridge to let it kind of dry and do its thing until tomorrow when we cube it into 1-inch cubes and season it all up. So until then, see you tomorrow. Good morning, everybody. So this is day 2 of the pork belly cook. We let it sit in the fridge overnight. I'm gonna pull that out right now, and we're gonna go ahead and cube this up, season it. We're gonna cheat a little bit. We're gonna cube up the pork belly, put it in this bowl, season it up in there, and just shake it because I'm lazy, and we're gonna cheat seasoning things that way. But anyway, today's a big day. My wife and I are excited. We live in, as I said, Arizona, the Phoenix metropolitan area, and the Indians Festival is here. So tonight we get to see Bowling for Soup, Sublime, Eve 6, and Blink 182. So today's gonna be an early day. We're starting to cook early. We're gonna get this pork belly cooked up for people, along with the rice and everything else, and get those delivered before we have an exciting night. So let's get that started. I'm gonna pull the pork belly out now and start cubing it up. So as you can see, the same slice of pork belly from yesterday, all 7.5 pounds or whatever it was. We're gonna take this and I'm gonna cut it in half. We've got 2 different seasonings. We're gonna do more of an Asian style on one side, and then the other half of it's gonna be more of a, like a bourbon, bourbon steak, brown sugar seasoning, more of a savory style. So, all right, now typically on my cooks for pork belly when I'm doing burnt ends, I'll do a bigger cut, like 1.5 by 1.5 cubes, something like that, because when they cook, they render down quite a bit, and you get that nice burnt end, charred burnt end. But on this, I'm gonna try something new. I wanna go smaller, maybe like a 3/4 inch cut or 1 inch max. So that's what we're gonna do here. I'll start cutting this up and show you guys what it looks like after it's all cut up and done. First, I'm gonna start by cutting this in half. And move this one over a little bit. So as I said, I'm gonna go a little bit smaller this time. So these might cook a lot quicker than normal, but that's preferred on this with the time crunch that we have today. So as you can see, I'm gonna do 3/4 strips like so. So this is what we're gonna be looking for. You can see how much fat is still left on there, even though I trimmed so much off. But we've got this pork belly here, 3/4 inch, and then after I get all these strips cut, I'll cut these into cubes, obviously, and that'll be your burnt end. All right, guys, so we went ahead and cut up half of this, and you can see just how much pork belly we got from that, doing these 3/4 inch, 1 inch top size cubes. And just look at how much pork belly we've got there. So this one right here, I'm gonna start this with the Asian side. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the rest of my wild hog, the sweeter barbecue rub, and I'm gonna pop this open if it'll open. And we're gonna put the rest of this on here. With this being pork belly and the fat amounts and everything that's on here, you can't really over season this because it's gonna render out, and that extra fat that renders will absorb all that extra seasoning. So we'll just pour some in here, twirl these around, pour some more, and just repeat the process over and over until all sides are fully coated. Got this half all fully coated with the honey hot barbecue rub. And you can just see how beautiful that seasoning coats this pork belly. One other tip that I wanted to say, and I should have said earlier, is when you're cutting up pork belly and it's thawed, it's really soft. So what I like to do is I like to cut it up straight out of the fridge, where it's a little bit firmer and a lot easier to cut and whatnot, because you can just see now, seasoning it after it's cut and everything, just how soft it is. And it's really hard to cut when the meat gets to this point. So that's just a little tip for you. But we're gonna go ahead and put these over into an aluminum tray, and we'll carry these outside after we get this one cut and get it going on the smoker. But that's these ones done with the honey hot. And yeah, Asian style pork belly coming in hot. All right, so we got this other half cut up, and we use the bourbon steak seasoning on them. This is what they're looking like. They've got more of a flaky seasoning in there with the brown sugars, some chili peppers and everything. So there's that. This is gonna be this more savory side. I'll put in the tin here. And I'll show you both of them next to each other, see the color difference and everything. So you can see this side is gonna be more of the Asian style. This is gonna be more of the savory. Different seasonings, different processing. I cut these ones a little bit thicker because this side had a lot more of the meaty side on it. So don't want these to shrivel up and get too dry or anything. So I cut them a little bit bigger than this side. But either way, we're gonna go out. We've got the Traeger outside preheating right now, and I've got it preheating to 250. We'll probably bump that up to 275 at some point. But we're gonna go ahead and get both of these put on the racks out there and get them started. They'll probably take 2 to 3 hours before I go in and put some liquid in here to start braising them and cover them with tin foil, and then another 2 or so hours to finish off in the liquids. So a good 4 or 5 hour cook. We're starting it here at around 9 o'clock in the morning, and yeah, let's kick it off. All right, guys, so we're out here at the Traeger. I just wanted to show you what we've got going. So I've got it set to 255. I think I'm gonna bump that down to 250, just keep it nice even number. So it's at 261. It's gonna start cooling down, but I just wanted to show you what we had going here. So we've got the Asian style, the sweeter up top on this rack, and the more savory, bigger pieces down here. I like to keep space between these so it gets a nice smoke all the way around, but just for how much protein, pork we have here, with this little Traeger, I had to kind of squish them together, and we'll just see how it goes. But no matter what happens, it's going to be really good. I'm excited. So the cook has officially begun. As you go, as you go, as you go, as you go. Oh, sit. All right, now that the pork belly is on the Traeger, we're going to go ahead and start prepping the cream cheese wontons. We've got 4 8-ounce bricks of cream cheese. the green onions for the wontons, and then we'll obviously wonton wrappers. So that's all that's going into the wontons. And then we've got one big onion that I'm gonna chop up and caramelize for them to either eat with the pork belly or put in the rice or something like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and get all this stuff chopped up. All right, so now we're over here at my wife's KitchenAid little mixing tool. We're gonna go ahead and put these 4 blocks of cream cheese in there. I've let these sit out and get up to room temperature. So we've got 4 8 ounces of cream cheese, and then here is the 2 onions that we chopped up earlier. We're gonna put probably 3/4 of these in this mixture and save the other quarter for topping the rice or the pork belly or something later. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and put the mixing tool on the KitchenAid and then throw these cream cheeses in. All right, we've got the 4 blocks of cream cheese in there. We're gonna go ahead and dump about 3/4 of these green onions in. All right, now this is what we're looking like here. We're gonna start mixing this all together. You can see how it kind of gets itself stuck to the side of the bowl and then within the actual tool. So that's what this comes in to do. Push it all back down to group it back up. And now at this point, now that we've got the initial mixing done, I'm gonna go ahead and put the sugar in there. I usually don't measure the sugar, I go off of taste. So we're gonna start with a 1/4 cup with the 4 cubes of cream cheese, and I think that'll be pretty good. We'll just have to taste it from there and see if we need to add more or what we need to adjust from there. All right, guys, so we got that all mixed up here. I moved it over to the table. This is my little setup. So we've got the cream cheese here with the green onion, a bowl for the finished wontons. We're gonna do the wrappers, a Ziploc that's gonna turn into my piping bag, a little bowl of warm water. So basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put that in the Ziploc, lay these out on this cutting board, and we'll start piping them and closing them all up. It's gonna take me a long time. All right, so we're all set up here. I've got the wontons over here, the water, turned the cream cheese into a dispensing bag with the Ziploc. So we'll cut a little notch out of the corner here to put on all these, and then we'll take the water around and I'll show you how we usually fold them. This is the most tedious part for sure, but it is so worth it. Okay, so we went ahead and put a notch on the bottom of the Ziploc. We're gonna start putting the cream cheese onto the wontons, and I'll show you after we get a little bit of the cream cheese on all of them how we like to wrap them in our household. Wonton wrappers aren't too big, so you don't want more than a tablespoon, maybe 2 tablespoons of this cream cheese. We'll stop right there for now, and I'll show you how we usually like to wrap these. So we'll take these and we'll hold it in our hand, get a little bit of the warm water, and we'll go all the way around on the wonton wrappers like so. This is the tedious part. And then we'll take this corner to corner, paste itself together, squeeze them like so. Trying to get most of the air out as well as you pinch it. And then to keep everything together, we'll go like this to the ends, the center, and we'll fold it over. Makes a cute little pocket, little wonton, and that's one done. Only 1,000 more to go. All right, so we're back out here at the Traeger. I've got my spray bottle. We've got 1 part apple cider vinegar and then 2 parts apple juice, pure sugar, real sugar, apple juice. So we're about an hour in on this cook. We're gonna go ahead and pop these open, check them out, see how they're looking, and give them a little spritz. Now, oh, what a beautiful color so far. This part is not needed, especially on pork belly, but I'm a big advocate for spritzing anything, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do a light spritz. We don't want these to cool off too much, but we also don't want them to start charring. So I'm gonna go ahead and spray these with a light spritz, just like so, and that's it right there. Now we'll sit there for another hour, hour and a half, and then we'll come back out, spritz them again, see how they're looking. All right, everybody, so we're back out here. The pork belly burn ends have been on the Traeger for right around 2.5 hours. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna come out here and we're gonna go ahead and take them off, put them into trays, and they're both gonna go into an apple juice bath with brown sugar sprinkle. And then the Asian side is gonna get more of a sweeter barbecue and some kind of like a eel sauce that we have. And then the other side's gonna get a savory barbecue put on those. But what I'll do is I'll put them in the trays, I'll put that on there, and then I'll show you guys what we're working with. We'll cover them and then we'll put them back in the Traeger. But right now, let's check out how these look after 2 to 2.5 hours. So they're looking really nice. You can see it's a little bit hotter towards this side. These are starting to crust up a little bit more than this side, but they're looking nice and rendered, nice and soft. So let's get these off and get them put in the tray. Here's what we're working with. This is the more savory side with kind of a more savory barbecue sauce on there. And then here's the Asian side. We've got a sweeter barbecue sauce, the brown sugar. We've got the eel sauce on there. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the apple juice and we're just gonna put them into a little bit of an apple boat. Right about there. And then same on this side, we'll just cover it with some apple juice. And this will start the braising process for both of them, which just keeps the fat rendering, keeps everything, you know, starting to get soft and stay moist. And all right, so we got these both put back in here. What I'm gonna do is, this is the Asian again up on top and then the savory down below, but it's a little bit difficult to get both of these in here with how small this Traeger is, but we got them both in here. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna bump up the temperature to 275 from 250. And we're just gonna let these ride for another 2 or 3 hours and just get as soft and as pliable as we possibly can. So that's these for the next 2 or so hours. And I'll give you guys an update when they're closer to done.